All right, today we're gonna build this ultimate drill press table. It has 3 forms of dust collection, which is incredible. It has it in the zero clearance insert. In the fence, I have this awesome wand, which I'll link all this stuff down below. It has drawers for storage. And what's really cool about this is the fence slides back and forth, but it still retains all 3 forms of dust collection. This is a problem in all drill press tables, is that if you want a sliding fence, you can't have dust collection in the body. But I think I've come up with a really cool way to overcome that. We have T-track for the Katz-Moses universal stop block for hold downs. We've got drawers with storage, and it doesn't really matter because it's a shop project, but total grain match, which is super exciting. I got this drill press at an auction about a year ago and finally found the one part that I needed to make it work, so I'm super excited to get this going. Check this out, guys. I think this is one of my best shop projects we've ever made. All right, so we have our basic case made. We've got room for our 2 drawers and then our airway. Now we're gonna create a baffle because air does not like to just fill up a space and suck. And so when you put baffles in there, it really helps airflow from like a smaller concentration to a bigger concentration. I'm not a scientist, so I'm probably saying that wrong, but I know a baffle works great. So we're gonna throw in a baffle here. We're gonna caulk the inside of this thing, which is why this doesn't really matter that you're super accurate, because you know, if you got little gaps here and there or things are a little crooked, it doesn't matter. Caulk fills up big spaces, so.
That's what she said?
You don't have to worry about it too much. I'm just gonna cut a piece of plywood that I can put at an angle here, and then we're gonna let that dry, and we're gonna start worrying about how our tops are gonna interact with each other so that we can create that sliding table, but retain that dust collection. So let's get a baffle in here and some caulking, and then once that dries, we'll move on to other things. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put together our first top. And I've done the layout here so you can see what I've done. I've measured out from the center line. You wanna make sure you're in your center, so you're in the center of your baffle and the center of your top piece. So I'm doing 3 inches wide by 7 inches long, 2.5 inches from the back, and that's an important measurement because your fence is gonna slide, and because of the size of your fence, 2.5 inches on my last one was about where the max that I could get with my fence to the drill bit before it would go past it. And then I'm gonna put my T-track 6.5 inches apart from each other, so 3.25 out from the center. I'm gonna cut this hole out. That hole is not super important because your next hole is gonna be bigger so that your insert plate can just sit on top, not a big deal, very easy to use. And you know, you want the T-track to be square to the back edge, which will allow your top piece to slide. Now, there's gonna be T-track in the top probably, if I don't run out of T-track, but that's simply for a hold down clamp. If you have something that you're trying to drill that's maybe small or something like that that you don't wanna have your hands near. So that T-track's not important. The fence and the top whole piece is gonna slide in this T-track. I'm also gonna slap together some drawers. They're gonna be quick and dirty, just glue and nails, no special joinery. I'm gonna do that at a 1/2 inch Baltic birch. So let's get this square cut out. Let's get some drawers slapped together, and then we'll start working on our next top. right, so we've got our case done, our drawers done, our top is all shaped and ready to go. Put the T-track in. We're going to affix the top. And then afterwards, I'm gonna put on a face, and then I'm just gonna use these two bits flush trim bits to flush everything up. Be a super easy way to do it. There's a discount code for these down below, by the way. We're gonna put in the drawers with slides. One thing to think about when you're doing your slides, I was stupid and I put a nail kind of haphazardly in the middle of all of the sides, which means I'm gonna really have to be careful where I route my groove for my drawer slides. So just something to think about. This one I was smart and only did one in the bottom and the top, so I can kind of go anywhere. But yeah, let's get this all put together, and then we're gonna worry about how our top goes on with our fence and our drawer faces. I think I'm gonna use cherry for everything because I think it's gonna look really cool. So let's get this put together and all done, and then we can worry about sort of the components of our table. Okay, that was kind of dusty, but we ended up with a happy little accident when we were flush trimming. Because I put in the drawer slides before the top, or before the face, when I flush trimmed it, we got these little tabs in the face, which are gonna work great for keeping the drawers more secure. On my old one, on the short drawer, I used to pull it out all the time and it would land on the floor. So this is actually nice because it extends the drawer slide. We're also going to cut the top to size here. It's gonna be free floating, and I wanna trim it out with some hardwood just for, I think it'd look really cool, and you don't have to do that. It's just shop furniture. You could use plywood, but we're gonna do it all from one piece, and I'm gonna cover up the middle so the drawers will extend to the middle so it looks like all one piece. And then I have the piece that I resawed this from, and I'm gonna trim out the top as well. I'm gonna do that before I cut the T-track grooves. That way I don't have to cut it out by hand like I had to here. But I think that'll kind of look nice, and I feel like sometimes it's fun to make your projects look nice. So we're gonna put a little cherry on there, and then once we get everything dry, we're gonna talk about the top, because that's gonna get important with the dust collection. There's, you know, dust collection in the fence, there's dust collection in the insert, and of course there's that wand for dust collection. So things are gonna get critical when we start milling the top, all the little accoutrements, if you will. So fancy. All right, let's get to putting these together. Okay, so now it's time to make our top, and I wanted to show you my old one because there's some things I'm going to improve on it, and I wanted to show you sort of my thinking behind this. Now, we have 3 types of dust collection in this. That's in the fence here, or I have this recess. It's in the center cavity here. One of the things that's great about this center cavity is it's cut shorter than your whole hole, so that you can slide it forward. Well, one, it's cut short so that the fence has dust collection. But 2, you can slide it forward. If you have a bunch of like scraps on your table, you can just sweep them into this giant hole here. And of course, these are replaceable. Now, when you're thinking about the size of your hole, the way I cut this was totally unnecessary, I realized after the fact. You just need a square hole. One mistake I made is I just made it barely bigger than my other ones so that the inserts would fit. But if you're slightly askew, you can see that your insert plate can not have any support. So I'm actually gonna make that quite a bit bigger. And then as far as the size of your hole, you wanna think about 2 placings. One is you're gonna go all the way back to your post. Now, I probably could have made this hole further forward, and the reason being, you're never gonna go further than your chuck on your drill press. So if my fence was on these bolts here, I would never go further than like right about there. And you can see this hole never goes past the edge of your table because that's where you're gonna lose dust collection. And this sliding table is the only reason that you can get so much dust collection in a table. And this thing's incredible. You can see it's the first time I've ever opened it. There's no dust in there. This thing is really, really good at collecting dust. So we're gonna go ahead and cut our hole. I'm gonna take some measurements of my new, bigger drill press, make sure that we're not gonna go beyond the back here. So I'm gonna move this hole actually forward from this, what I have it on this table. That way I can go back further, allowing more pieces to reference against the fence. Then we're gonna cut a few 0 clearance inserts. Now, this hole is great because when you're drilling away from this hole, so let's say you're right here, this hole also collects dust because you may have it up against your fence, which then blocks this bottom cavity here. T-track here is just for hold down clamps, not necessary. Same thing in the fence. This is for like a stop block. And the bolts just need to be drilled directly. So this T-track needs to be directly in line with the T-track underneath. And then you need to drill those bolts up through, and your fence is gonna sit on that perfectly. You could even drill these holes a little bit wide to allow yourself a little bit of wiggle room when you're putting it on, because it doesn't matter once it's locked down. So we're gonna get our top plate all milled up with the hole, T-track. I've got a piece of cherry for our fence. We're gonna put some T-track in that. We're gonna drill our holes and get this thing ready for finish and demo. Wow, guys, this came out just incredible. It's like the big brother to my old one. With seeing them next to each other is absolutely hilarious. All right, so let's talk about our mistakes or things that we would change. We didn't really make too many mistakes on this one. The T-track in the middle of the fence is a little aggressive just because I'd have to really want to use it because I'd have to pull these nuts off and slide bolts in. But I think that it's really cool. The Katz-Moses stop block can actually be flipped around and used this way. You would lose the micro adjust feature of the face, but it still works absolutely great. I'm gonna play with this interior hole here. I think I'm gonna make it way longer because we have lots of room to go and it's sort of short. I use the same dimensions as my smaller one from my old drill press, and we could have easily gone way longer, which will keep this zero clearance insert collecting dust. Other than that, I love this thing. It is beefy. Those match fit clamps were a great way to figure out how to hold this down. My last drill press had holes in the table, so it was kind of easy to just shoot some screws and attach it. Dust collection works phenomenal. I love this beast of a drill press. It was, like I said, it was one I got in an auction, and it's nice to finally have it working because it's awesome. Hold down clamp is great. What's really cool about this is when you have the dust collection going, the zero clearance insert, if you put something on top of it, it sucks it down super hard. So it's sort of like a vacuum table. So you don't really need these hold downs if you have something kind of small. If it's heavy, you might want to do it. But drawers are great. I love these drawer pulls. It's just some cherry and white oak sandwiched together. Just fun little drawer pull I like to do for shop projects. Love the grain match, super cool, guys. I wanted to thank Bits and Bits. I used a lot of their bits. They're a longtime sponsor. Total Boat, both of them have 15% off discount codes down below. Squeeze-and saws, I use their saws in this project, and I have those available over on my store. Everything used, guys, is linked down below. Thank you for watching. Stay safe in the shop. Have a wonderful day.